Hello and welcome to The Wilderness of Creativity, a platform for creatives and aspiring entrepreneurs to share their stories of survival. I'm your host, Lucy, and I'm so excited to share this creative journey with you. Working full-time and raising a small human has caused me to lose track and wander off-piste on several occasions, but I followed the signs and here we are, surviving the wild and feeling more connected and inspired than ever before. Whether you're a seasoned adventurer or just starting out, I'm here to cheer you on as you navigate this journey. Together, we will uncover practical tips and strategies for cultivating creativity, explore different ways of prioritising our creative energy when there are people to please and deadlines to meet. And we'll also discuss how we can foster a mindset that inspires connection, innovation and play in our daily lives. Tune in every month to hear how my guests find focus in a world that never stops buzzing and discover what it really means to take the road less travelled. Subscribe now to listen to The Wilderness of Creativity and remember to like, share and leave a review to show your support. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, so come and join in with our conversations. And that's it. Welcome to your next adventure.
In college, Miranda helped me survive.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you remember this. I felt like her. I was like, oh my God, I'll be single forever. This will be me. I need a Gary.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Wilderness of Creativity. This month I had the pleasure of talking to Kay Simpson, a dynamic business growth guide with a passion for empowering professionals to achieve sustainable success. With a background in technical theatre and event planning, Kay takes an intuitive approach to consulting, working closely with her clients to unlock their full potential and develop personal strategies that foster growth and resilience. Let's get to the episode. You know what? I've not watched much of that, to be fair.
Oh, I don't. The first 3 episodes you got to get through. Like
Okay.
the first one's okay. Second one's terrible. You got to get through the third one.
Okay. We're a little bit late to the party, but we've just finished watching The American Office.
It's classic.
It is so good. But we don't tend to watch a lot of TV now because
You're busy.
I suppose we're busy. We're busy with, having a small human in the house. But yeah, I was thinking of how I might want to start this session with you because I watched your live.
My public breakdown of...
I just, my heart went out to you for sure.
Yeah.
But then I really admire you as well. It really resonated with me. And I think a lot of people watching that as well would go, oh, somebody's actually saying how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
So what made you want to
go so publicly with my challenges?
Yeah, what made you want to do that?
Yes, and I actually have some update to that too, which I'm happy to share today. So it's actually was all a part of what needed to happen, trusting that pull. I think creativity and intuition go hand in hand. So I do feel like that's very much part of my process. So I feel like I'm in good company. No, her name actually, her name's Claire, and I actually am doing, I'm speaking with her in a couple weeks on her YouTube channel, which is a Dare to Share, I think is what it's called. And I apologize, I don't have her last name handy. She's also based out of the UK, I believe. But anyway, she's hosting this Dare to Share challenge for leaders to, speak authentically. And I actually caught a live that she was doing with someone last week. And I mean, I've had so many breakdowns along the way as you do in entrepreneurship and this journey and just the personal development aspect of everything. Especially if you're doing it right. Like if you want to be conscious, if you want to, not just make money, that's not what creativity is about. It's not tied to money typically. Especially in our society. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing. But I caught a live that she was doing with someone and they were just talking about and Claire has been really big on just authenticity in sharing during the journey, not just the success story that we're sold. And while it's a powerful story to have succeeded or been somewhere and get to point B and, that's great. life's always evolving and growing and changing. And just because you make it to a certain point doesn't mean life just stops and you're done. Everything's good. And so to actually just be a little more authentic along the way and how I'm leading myself through that. And I really resonate. This maybe sounds corny or like cliche, but just with the imagery of like a phoenix. And I feel like that's just been coming up for me a lot. And so I feel like that public declaration of like, I'm struggling and I don't think I'm the only one, but this is what I'm going to try to do to work through this. And I feel like that was kind of like the final bit of burning that I feel like I needed to do to just clear away ego and pressure and any facade that I might have still had or held on to, and letting go of like fear and expectation of like what credibility means and what that looks like. It's like I've never been fake. Like if you meet me one-on-one, and as we're talking, like I'm an open book. I'm not ever going to be like, oh yeah, I made 5K and blah, blah, blah every week, or every minute of the day. I don't know. Like people do. And also that's like here in America, we have the FTC and they're really cracking down on like false advertising and marketing and in different ways that we see all the time. And it's like, I just want to be real. Like, and so, I was able to have that experience sharing and being raw. And I actually felt really good later that day. I was just like, all right, I did it. Like there's only up from here. And I committed to what I said I was going to do and kept going. And the next day I was listening to a business podcast and its intended purpose was also very good, but it actually unlocked something for me. And I just had this like aha moment after aha moment for hours of how all these pieces of what I've been working on all fit together. And so I have the next like breadcrumb, which I can't like fully announce right now anyway, but I have like the next step forward. And I was like, I needed that clearing, and that space. And just to be real, like that ego, right? And just like letting that fully go. And it wasn't like I was having ego with like other people. It's just like I need to let go for myself. And so that's kind of where that came from. It's a very long explanation, but
no, I mean, this is a place to explore these ideas and, you're shedding, what you think you should be doing or the idea of yourself, in order to make room for new things to come in. And actually with you being so real in your life, actually you're going to be attracting the clients that you want anyway, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you.
There's various things kind of in the pipeline as well. So you've got collaborations coming up and workshops. Do you want to talk a little bit about where those ideas are kind of growing and taking you?
Yeah, so with the clarity I gained this weekend, all of it's shifting just slightly. So I'm actually like I had created a workshop that I was going to do locally here, and I'm still doing that. But it's like I needed this last piece to lock in, and so now I'm actually like fleshing those out a lot better, and it's like flowing now. It's like when you force something, it just doesn't. Or you're like, it just doesn't feel right. Yes, it's good on paper, but like what, there's something missing. One, it's for creatives or creative CEOs. And it's about first like defining or redefining what success looks like for you. Because that looks very different for all of us. Some of us have kids, some of us are single, like all the things, and or just have different measures of success. So it's not just a monetary thing. It's I want to have free time on the weekends or in the evenings. I want to live by water. I want to travel. There's all these different things. And so it's like, well, what does that look like to maintain that and have that? And how can you have it all as best we can in this ever-changing world and life?
What does success look like to you?
So there's a fictional character that I like to use as my guiding point of like success for me as far as what it kind of looks like lifestyle wise. I'm not that old, but Murder, She Wrote is one of my favorite shows. And Jessica Fletcher, good old Angela Lansbury. Jessica Fletcher's version of success, though, is like superb to me. Like she is living my best life. She's an author in her own right. Like, so she's a creative, and I also like part of her process is that she has to like hide away and write, right? She gets her solitude. She has to focus and get that done. And then she goes out into the world. She accepts invitations. She hangs out with friends. She travels. And there's a small group of people that know who she is and what she's known for. But she's really not famous. Like, she lives in her house by herself. She doesn't have security. Like, there's no, like, she just can have her quiet life still, but then go do all the things she wants to do. She donates to charities. She, participates in random events and things. She judges events. Like, I mean, she just does a little bit of everything, but she still has that quiet life and she still needs her solitude. And I think that is just like, okay. And also her approach to things, because she is older, she found everything later. She wouldn't have an Instagram page she keeps up on if she was, in our society. It would be there, but she wouldn't be on it every day. Like, that's not success to her, is showing up online every day. So it's little things like that. So I kind of use that as my guiding point. Like, what would Jessica Fletcher want in this moment?
Gosh, I was not expecting that at all. But yeah, I can kind of. I
keep
love
you on your toes over there.
You have had quite a journey, haven't you? I mean, from wedding planning, from backstage technical theatre, to now, entrepreneur and setting up your business. How did you get from university to going into theatre and working backstage to then setting up Nova Pristi, which is a beautiful name as well?
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been a journey, like you said. And I think it's really been a self-discovery journey. I mean, I think I've always had this pull to like figure myself out. It's taken its sweet time in moments to get there. I grew up always like loving to like sing and dance, and I was quite the performer at some point. My parents tell me stories where I'd walk into department stores and just like lift my neck at the perfume counter and like to make them spray perfume on me as like a toddler. Like, I just had this like, I don't know, I was like very bold and out there and like, extroverted, and then puberty and moving, and I don't know, life happened and I just kind of started hiding and stayed hidden for a long time. But I loved like performance art and expression, and I did all the art classes as far as drawing and painting. Like, I did all that stuff growing up. I wrote, I was very creative growing up. But I never saw myself as a creative or like good enough. I definitely just kept myself as small as possible. I also, in my like household growing up, like, it was just pretty chaotic, or like my parents were young, they did the best they could. And it was just, I didn't have, there wasn't always like communication about what to expect. Like, it's just, you get busy and you're like, forget to tell your kids what's going on, like, and it was just not a constant thing. And I came from a big family too. So I, very young, had anxiety and figured out like, I need to know what's going to happen in every possible situation, like how it could play out. And so my brain got hardwired to be like Doctor Strange or something, where I can just play out every scenario. And so how that all ties together is I found theater and stage management and doing the backstage stuff, because it's live and you have to just be like, okay, this prop broke. What do we do for the next 3 scenes to make it work? Or when can we fix this set piece that fell apart? Or, and you're just seeing how it's all connected and all like, all that
like creative problem solving.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So I did theater in high school, and then obviously studied it in college. And I emphasized, my studies were emphasized in stage management specifically. And if anyone that knows theater, stage management is like probably the like most easy to transfer, like transferable skills to anything else in the world. Like, most of theater can be transferred in other skills too, and people don't see that. But I think stage management is probably the easiest. I mean, you got the organization, the problem solving, you got the planning, you've got communication, you have, conflict resolution, you have, there's a lot of different teams. There's just a lot going on. So yeah, I think along the way, obviously theater was a part of my life for a really long time. And I worked in office jobs, and I was worked my way up, and all those skills that I had just kind of kept compounding into my business experience as well. And then for fun, I think it was after the pandemic, or it was during the pandemic, because I feel like we're still in it. But yeah, I think it was like 2021, where a friend and I decided we would use our theater skills and start doing wedding planning, and did the whole business side of that.
Wow.
And it was great. It was very much like putting on a show. That's why I really started the whole entrepreneurship journey.
Really?
And then a lot of other things have happened that got me to exactly this moment, as far as like the business and what it looks like now. Because when it started, it was something a little bit different. So it's just been the refining and the shedding that you were talking about got me and where my business is now. So I could probably write a book.
Well, yeah, I think you probably should. How to survive the wilderness. I was chatting to another guest of mine, Natalie Smithson, and she said something beautiful. She said, nothing is ever wasted.
Yeah.
And that really resonated, because I think sometimes when you're in the thick of it, you can't see a way out. You're feeling like you're lost. All of that is part and parcel of the journey, and you need to trust that and the process.
No, that's exactly what I figured out this weekend. Like I had to I was in the thick of it with that live. I was really in the thick of it. And the next day it was like literally saw how all the pieces like fit together. And it was like literally nothing's been a waste is what just kept coming through. And so like I totally, yeah, spot on.
and here we are, here we are as well,
Yes.
For creatives who have perhaps got a business already, how can they take their small business and grow it using different tools? Like what sort of advice would you give them?
I think it starts with your definition of success, because obviously we all want to make more money. We all want to have more time. What does that look like for you? And getting really clear on, are you working and creating a business model that is set up to support that vision of success? One of the main things that I challenge is the hustled approach to business. So I am more I'm more about aligned action, because when you get excited about something like you were just talking about and you immediately take action on it, it feels good. You can work for so much longer. Your capacity to work and get stuff done, it's good work, not just killing yourself to get it done. You're inspired, you're excited, and it flows, it goes. And you just you run with that. But when we get burned out, or we start to have those symptoms of burnout or stress about money or whatever it is, or time, and then things aren't as good, they're not as quality. I find every time I push myself to do something that I needed to get done in theory, I'd had to go back and redo it because it changed. Or the next day I met someone and had a conversation. I was like, oh, okay. I think not forcing is like a really big part of that when it comes to strategy. I think it's getting really clear on where you're also needing change in your business. So is it you need more clients? Is it you don't have social media and people are asking you if you have an Instagram and you're like, I don't know where to start. It just kind of depends on what your issues are, and those are obviously like really basic maybe. But the other side of the spectrum is people have grown too fast. They don't know how to maintain it. And so it's like figuring out the way that's like sustainable on either side of the spectrum. So it's like, okay, are you set up to grow?
Yes.
Are you actually how are your foundations? Like, do you have the tech in place to grow? Do you have that, the things you need? Do you have supplies? Do you have, what does that look like for you? And then once those foundations, the definition of success are in place, and we have, reasonable goals that make sense, then we can kind of work backwards, for like a 3-month approach and figure out those strategies that are in alignment for you. So if it's like, I want to post on social media more, or I need to nurture my audience better, then, figuring out what type of content is easiest for you to make. And it's not do this for 3 times a day and then you're going to be famous. It's, can you even show up 3 times a day? Is that even feasible? So I'm really about the sustainability throughout any of those strategies. And I think honestly, if I can do a little plug for my free thing, I honestly do think one of my resources is super helpful for people that are wanting to grow and just kind of looking at it a different way without having to invest in anything right now. I have a free quiz on my website. If you go to my website and click on any page, it's on there.
I've seen it.
Oh, you have. I made a BuzzFeed style quiz. They make like picture style, like fun, silly, like really dumb quizzes sometimes. But in college, it got me through some days. I was just like, oh, yes, I want to know what kind of fruit I am. Or like, I don't know, like, but it would be like.
What type of fruit are you?
Well, I don't know. Something
There's a quiz for that.
Sweet and tart. Maybe a plum. I don't know.
I love plums.
I do too.
Anyway, yeah.
Good
anyway,
stuff.
We digress.
Yes. Sometimes the quizzes are, on BuzzFeed, they're just like, look at this. What scenery describes your relationship with your mom? And it's just like, this is not related at all. So I made a quiz that is fun, but there's actual like real results at the end, even if your result doesn't fully resonate with you because it is a fun, silly quiz. But if you actually enter in your email, you get access to all the answers. And it's for all different types of, I've created 5 different creative CEO types. So they have like little profiles to them. I've given them all like normal, like names that I use to reference them in my work behind the scenes so that I can keep them straight.
Yeah.
Every month send out a newsletter. I call it like a business oracle, where it just has some actionable advice and reflective questions of how to maybe approach a situation or something in your business that might need some tending to. And so it's just every month there's something for each of those types, but you can look at all of them, take whatever is helpful. And I feel like sometimes just taking a different approach or a different look at something is really where those strategies then click in, or you have those aha moments. And so I feel like that's kind of the start of creating those actual strategies and for growth and really getting clear on your foundations and that you can even grow with the way it's operating right now.
I love that. I'm learning so much, from these conversations that I'm having, and it's that whole thing of be inspired and inspire. I want to live in an ideal world.
I think that's fair. I mean, with how crazy everything is right now, anything to bring peace and joy and fun back into anything, like in any part of our day, I think is so important, especially as an entrepreneur and or someone creating something. Like it has to be fun. Like.
Hi, Lucy here. Have you heard? The Wilderness of Creativity podcast has been nominated for a Women in Podcasting Award 2024. Your vote not only supports the podcast, but it also amplifies women's voices in podcasting and champions creativity far and wide. Just head over to Facebook or Instagram to cast your vote. Thanks for listening. Stay wild.
I thought we could potentially do the You Got This cards.
Oh, this is like oracle cards. I love this. Like I use them in my business. So I use them every day just for like helping me connect to myself and just like bring awareness to something I might not be paying attention to or have thought of. So kind of like intention setting for the beginning of the day. So I do that on a personal level. But I'm so passionate about my business that it's typically tied to my business in a way of just, embodying my best CEO self to be able to take on the day, whatever comes up. But then I use, I wouldn't say I use them directly, but oracle cards are part of that newsletter that I put together.
Yeah.
It's just a way of kind of pulling in what certain types of people might be needing right now, and help channel that. And then, if there's something I'm kind of stressed about or uncertain of, I will pull a card or use cards just to help get out of my head, because I will think my way through anything. But just to then make sure I'm not missing something or like, couldn't have more compassion or more understanding from another perspective. So I use oracle cards all the time.
I've also just bought, it's called a mindfulness dice. And on the sides, it has things like read, write, move, play, draw.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I bought it from a secondhand shop. and I love it. Okay, so you can tell me to stop whenever you like, my lovely.
Okay. And stop.
Okay. So the card. Oh, I love it. Okay, the card that's come up for you, can you read that?
Oh my gosh, yes. It's perfect for me.
Oh my goodness. So the card that's come up for you is what you get by achieving your goals is not as important as what you become by achieving your goals. Talk to me about that card. That is so
Oh my gosh,
pertinent,
no,
isn't it?
mean, I think that it says it all as far as how I believe like success is, or, like you could have all the money in the world, but if you don't enjoy your life or who you are because or like how you got that money, like then what are we doing?
What are we doing here? And this is where our conversation started. It's about you becoming who you want to be. The trip to Egypt was pivotal in you exploring your business idea. Am I right?
Yes. Yeah, it really was.
Was it a specific thing that happened? Was it somebody that you met? Was it just the fact that you were out of your comfort zone, out of your normal sort of environment?
Yes, totally above. But as far as the actual like pivotal moment, as far as related to business in its initial pivoting, let's say, like what's the word here? I booked it kind of on a whim. Like I've always wanted to go to Egypt, always. I mean, The Mummy was like and still is one of my favorite movies ever. Like it's so good. It's not accurate by the way, but in case anyone thought it was, it's not. I follow a couple people on Instagram and they were hosting this trip, and so they announced it and they had kind of done like a little challenge leading up to it and of like teasing where they might go. And I was like, they're going to Egypt. I know they're going to Egypt. They're going to Egypt. And so I had told my husband about it. And then sure enough, they announced it. And he's like, you should go. And I was like, what?
On your own?
Yeah. He's like, yeah, you should
Wow.
go. Like he didn't feel particularly called or, like it wasn't his passion. And I was going with a group, so be safe, like there's nothing to really stress about. And he's like, you should go. And I was like, okay. So I booked it and I was obviously so excited. And I at the time was working in an office, the last office I planned to ever work in. I was sitting at my desk there and in my little office, and I was like thinking about the trip, and I knew it was going to be really expanding for me as a person. And I was like, I can't go this trip in a year from now and come back and sit at this desk. I can't do it. So I started my escape plan. And it took off from there as far as the changes. And I a few months later, I was like, all right, bye. Like I'm gonna go for it. And then a year from that point of making the decision the booking was a year out. So when I went to Egypt, it was I was on my own schedule, my own boss, very helpful. And it was incredibly impactful in so many ways. And again, I feel like that's another podcast. But talking about that embodiment, one of the biggest theme of that trip for me on a personal level was stepping into my power. And there is this backing up a little bit. When I was a kid, I lived in California, and there was this, I don't know if it was, I mean, this was years ago, so I have no idea if it was just like a traveling one or what, but there was an Egyptian museum that I went to as a kid, and they had papyrus bookmarks that were the alphabet. And on the top was like a little picture of just something Egypty, like just some sort of, if you don't know hieroglyphics and all, and like the images, it's an aesthetic, right? So like,
yes.
For whatever reason, after so I've moved so many times in my life, I've done so many purgings, I've kept this bookmark for no reason. It's real papyrus, I figured out, but I just for no reason kept this book. I never even used it as a bookmark. It literally it's been living in a box like ever since I've had it. And it just has the alphabet on it. Like, it's not anything special. Well, a few weeks before my Egypt trip, I came across it and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, I'm going to go. And so I like put it out on my wall and I was like, okay, cool. So we go on the trip, and when we're there, we go to a papyrus shop, and there's all these beautiful images. And our guide is, like most guides there, is an Egyptologist, an archaeologist. Ours was extra special, of course, but we had been learning about what the different images mean and who people were in them and what was going on. And I wasn't planning on like buying one. I just was like, oh yeah, they're cool, like it's great. They're all pretty. Of course I like them. Like, it was just, I hadn't, whatever. But near the bathroom, on the wall was this one particular like smaller image. And I was like, oh, I like this one. I was like, this one's really cool. And what I loved about it was two women, and they were holding hands. Like, one was in front of the other, kind of like leading the other. And I just like loved the idea of sisterhood and community and healing that female friend wound and all that. And I was like, oh, I'm really drawn to this. So I asked her guy, I was like, what is this? And he's like, oh, this is Hathor, and she's leading, or this is the moment when Nefertiti becomes a goddess, and is when they touch hands, it means like you're one of us. And so it's like her stepping into her goddess era, and her power. And I was like, and one of the gals on the trip, who's now a really good friend of mine, we both had this like breakdown moment about it. Like, we were crying in this like really like fluorescent lit shop, just like, it's so beautiful, like and we both bought our own versions of it. Like, I got this, actually it's hanging up behind me, you can see.
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Take it down. So it's this, obviously you're gonna have to
wow
edit this out, but that's
I love it.
Yep. And then that's Nefertiti, and it's so beautiful, right?
Yeah, it is.
So
it's beautiful.
I get home and I'm just going about my life, my day, whatever, slowly integrating back to normal life. But with this new magical, expansive self and all the things. And I happen to look at that bookmark, and it is the same exact image I bought. I had no idea.
No way.
No idea.
Oh my goodness.
Like, I have chills talking about it again. Like, and it's like, they don't look the same, but it's the same exact one, because the other one's in color. It's like this big. Like, and I had no reason to hang on to it all these years. And I was like, oh, this trip was everything.
It's just gorgeous.
Yeah.
I love a story like that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for letting me share it. And if you have to edit it out, I totally understand.
No. Oh my goodness. I will not be editing that out. It is absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really profound. And it was just like, oh, I've been, divinely guided for so long. Yes. And this is my time to really step into and embody that power, the inner power that we all have, and get back to that inner child, that inner boldness that I had, and really be seen and let that be good.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let me see if we have got some questions. Bum bum. Oh, we have got some questions.
I love it.
So, a question from Nisha from Canvas Creations is, if you were to redo your journey, would you do anything differently?
Honestly, if we're just looking at business and that journey, no, I don't think so. I mean, it really has been, like they said the other day, like everything just kind of clicked into place for me as far as seeing how it all fit together in the past. Now, where I'm going, still the unknown, but we're going to navigate it, and it's going to be fantastic. I think if I could constructively give myself feedback, it'd probably be like when I was first starting to slow down. I feel like I had to unlearn so much. So I was really recovering from burnout, and it didn't feel safe to slow down because you do feel like this, like, go, go, go. And, or I have this idea, I have to run. And, like, it's like you're going to miss a train or something, but there's no train to catch. Like, it's nothing that's meant for you will pass you by. And so, but I do think slowing down, and I think if I would have just listened to my body sooner, I think the journey would have been less rocky. So that's, I guess the only critique I'd give myself, and just like, actually the way is in. It's going inward. Like, you're not going to find your answers from any guru, or something might help click into place, but it's really you that takes the journey. So it's got to work for you. So I think realizing that I had all the answers, I just needed to uncover them.
Do you have any sort of role models or people that inspire you for your work?
Besides Jessica Fletcher? Yeah. Honestly, I mean, there's a lot of people I follow or like, or I mean, I work with a business consultant, Melissa Froelich, I think is how you say her last name. And she's fantastic. And she also has a very holistic approach to business. And being someone that lives in their head, I've needed someone from the outside to just kind of help me, like, oh, this is the way you should, try this. I'm like, oh yeah, duh. Like, I'm ideas all day, but sometimes I just need someone else to tell me, hey, try it this way first. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds great. Which is what I try to do for other people. I'm great at helping others, but turning that back on yourself is a little different thing sometimes. So I really look up to her. I have some really great, peers that I'm in, like, accountability groups with and whatnot. But honestly, right now I'm kind of in a season of putting the blinders on and really just getting back to me and just that intuition and following my joy. And yes, I listen to a lot of different podcasts, a lot of different things, but like, I read a lot of different books, but I'm trying not to like put any one person on a pedestal and being like, this is the way, because I get too caught up in how they did it. And I want to really be focusing on my own path, with the advice and input of people who've gone before me, of course. I think my favorite, like, businessy kind of podcast that I listen to is like right now is like Powerhouse Women, by Lindsay Schwartz. I'm going to their convention in a few weeks, or their conference in a couple weeks. So I listen to that if I like need a little businessy, like, pick me up. That's what I would call it, just because there's a lot of authenticity on there as well, as far as telling their stories, and it is just a little different way of thinking about things, and an approach to business.
I guess the question that I'm trying to answer in the podcast is whether creativity is a luxury or whether it's a necessity.
I did write some thoughts on that. So I do have. I always make this joke with my husband that I have an opinion about everything. You just have to ask, even if I have no context. As far as your question of if creativity is a luxury or necessity, so I mentioned before too that I think creation and intuition go hand in hand. So I think I think we're all naturally creative, because those lend to each other. It's just a matter of how much space and time you give it and how you connect with those aspects of yourself. So I don't think it's a luxury or a necessity. I think it's just a natural thing that is available to us if we choose to grow in that way. Because I don't think we can grow without it. I don't think we can heal without creativity. I don't think we can grow. I don't think we can fully express, because there's so many different ways to be creative, and it's not a one size fits all. And just like intuition, like it looks different for everybody. And I think if you are a conscious individual that wants to grow and continue finding alignment within yourself and that shedding, to be aware of who you are and what you want and what's possible for you, and to be able to dream, you need that intuition and creativity that go hand in hand to create that. And it's just, I think it's just an act of bravery to give yourself the time and space to be in that realm. I think, creativity is really always through the lens of something about us. Like it's how we filter. So, if we went to go paint a picture right now, I'd pick up certain colors that I resonate with. You'd pick up different colors that would resonate with you. And while I might think your colors are really pretty, I didn't choose them for my piece. And so I think it's just to have that bravery to really dive in deep and let it happen. I guess maybe that's the luxury of time that people might not always be able to cultivate or have. But I think even giving ourselves 5-10 minutes a day to dance, to move, to scream into a pillow, I don't know, sing. I think it doesn't have to be luxurious to be effective.